And we thank Tony Aiello for that. Let's go to Commissioner Bratton and the mayor, Mayor de Blasio. They're getting ready to start a news conference. They're doing some introductions. They've been on the case now since this went down at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Let's listen in.
Also joining me are our federal partners, Chief Judge Carol Amon from representing the Eastern District, Chief Deputy United States Marshal Brian Mullay of the Eastern District, and Acting United States Marshal Eric Timberland of the Southern District. We are also joined by Dr. Ramaju, President and CEO of the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation. This afternoon, at about approximately 1 p.m., members of the New York, New Jersey Regional Fugitive Task Force, consisting of U.S. Marshals and assisted by a New York City detective, were executing an out-of-state arrest warrant on a subject identified as Charles Mozdir, M-O-Z-D-I-R, who was wanted for a sex offense in the San Diego area, Coronado. The task force had received information that the suspect was working at the Smoke Line Culture Smoke Shop at 177 West 4th Street in downtown Manhattan, the Village. The NYPD detective entered the location and visually confirmed that the subject was present and appeared to be alone in the store. The detective exited the smoke shop and verified to the other members of the task force that Mozdir was present inside, apparently alone. The detective, accompanied by United States Marshals, entered the shop to make an apprehension. Immediately upon entering, a gun battle ensued. Mozdir fired upon the officers at very close range, and the officers returned fire. During the exchange of gunfire, the detective and 2 marshals were wounded. Charles Mozdir was shot dead. He was subsequently pronounced dead. A .32 caliber handgun was recovered at the scene. 20 rounds of additional ammunition were found in Mozdir's pockets. The detectives and 2 U.S. Marshals were transported here to Bellevue Hospital. They are all currently listed in stable condition. Their identification is being withheld pending further family notifications. The mayor and I and the chief judge have had the opportunity to speak to all 3. The detective from the New York City Police Department, it was being visited at the time of our arrival in discussion by his mother, son, and fiancé. The NYPD detective is 45 years old and has more than 20 years with the department. I just had the good fortune of promoting him 1 month ago at police headquarters. I certainly want to thank the medical staff here at Bellevue Hospital for all of their medical assistance. It is certainly one of the foremost medical institutions here in this city and one that has always done well by our members. So with that, I'd like to ask Mayor de Blasio to come up, and then we will seek to display to you the bulletproof vest that was being worn by our detective. It's our belief that the wearing that vest may have in fact contributed to the saving of his life in this matter. Sir.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I want to extend my appreciation to Dr. Raju and everyone at Bellevue for taking such good care of these 3 men. These 2 marshals and the NYPD detective exhibited extraordinary bravery. They had to deal with an incredibly difficult situation, split-second decisions, and they do what law enforcement personnel do every day. They have to put their lives on the line to protect the rest of us, and these 3 men did that. We all feel such gratitude, such appreciation for their bravery, and I have to say, for the Commissioner and I to be able to talk to each one of them, each one in good spirits, minimizing their extraordinary efforts, but I can say on behalf of all 8.4 million New Yorkers that we appreciate their bravery, their strength, their decisiveness, and we're going to make sure that each of them is taken care of. It's, thank God, a situation where each of them is in stable condition, but we're going to make sure that they get a full recovery, and we look forward to honoring them when they're well. So this is a day when we have a lot to be thankful for. I also want to amplify the point that the Commissioner made. This is an example of these men being protected by their vests, and it's such an important piece of the protection that each of our officers has. So let's take a look now so you can see.
This is the vest being worn by Officer Munez. That, as you can see, there was an entrance just to the left of the front of the vest.
And I specialize in holding it up higher here. Will be your display.
We have recovered the round from the vest that the vest actually kept from penetrating into his body.
I'll point out the area where it is, just so everyone sees.
Right in here.
And Commissioner, would you mind just saying that again, repeating that, where it entered?
Effectively, where you can see is where the round entered. The round was recovered in the vest. So obviously the vest did save the officer from the grievous injury if that round had entered his chest. Thank you. Yes, okay. Suspect, or the subject, the deceased subject, his name is, I'll spell it for you also. It's Charles Mozdier, M-O-Z-D-I-I-R. That we were acting, the Fugitive Task Force, our colleagues from the U.S. Marshals Service, serving an out-of-state warrant on behalf of police authorities in the state of California in the San Diego area. I'm sorry?
32 years old. 32.
I'm sorry, he is 32 years of age, a white male. Okay.
Could you explain how the team came to realize that he was at that location and how they got there?
Now, at this stage of the investigation, which effectively will, the NY Police Department is working with the marshals, but it was working on a U.S. Marshals task force, so we won't go into any of the specifics of how we came to know he's in that location or any of the details of what transpired relative to the shooting inside the premises. That's all part of our investigation at this time.
But at this point, does it look like the suspect fired first? That's what...
We have, again, this investigation is only 4 hours old, so we will determine the sequence of what occurred in that shop this afternoon. But again, it is quite clear that the injuries sustained by our officers were basically caused by the suspect.
Commissioner, can you tell us when the tip came in, about how long ago, and did it have anything to do with the show, with this being featured on
I can't speak to the circumstances of how the task force became aware of this individual or how they became aware of his presence here in New York City. At this stage of the game, I prefer not to go into that detail. It's still part of the investigation.
Do you have a sense for how long he has been in New York, what he's been doing here, has been in that working in that?
We do not at this time, no.
Why was the detective on that job?
I'm sorry?
Why was that detective on the job with this task force?
We have a number of joint task forces. We have the Joint Terrorist Task Force that you're very familiar with, and we also have a number of members of our department working with our colleagues, the U.S. Marshals, ATF. It's part of the extensive collaboration that we engage in, and we're proud to be part of members. I think I have almost 20 detectives currently working with that task force.
And the name of the officer, the NYPD officer?
We are not releasing that at this time. We're assured that all of the relatives have in fact been notified.
Commissioner, can you show us the dialogue exchange between the suspect and the marshals?
We'll not go into any of the details of what occurred in that shop. That's still, we're only 4 hours into this investigation, 4 hours after the incident.
Can you talk about how the weapon the suspect had?
I'm sorry?
The suspect had?
The suspect had a .32 caliber firearm, .32 caliber revolver, with 20 spare rounds in his pocket at the time of his death.
So, if you can go through where the three officers, where they were hit, become a bit confused, and if you had the opportunity to speak to them after this, since they are in stable condition, what did they have to say?
As the mayor indicated, that we're quite proud of their performance. The two U.S. Marshals that were part of a larger team of marshals assisted by our officer. Our officer received a wound lower than his vest. One of the U.S. Marshals, I believe, had a elbow wound, and a second had, I think, a wound to the left buttock or right buttock.
And what did they have to say if you had the opportunity to speak to them?
We will not talk about the specifics of the case with them at this time. We're there just to offer our support for them and their families when we talk with them.
Those different, but they're disguising themselves?
I'm sorry, what was it?
The suspect, is he disguising himself? And then he waved beard or long hair?
The suspect had apparently changed his appearance from earlier times. That seems to be the case. I won't go into that. I won't go into the specifics of that.
Did these officers know this guy was armed and dangerous going into this operation?
I can't speak to that either. That's part of the investigation. I'm not aware of that personally.
And can you describe the close quarters that this took place?
It is a smoke shop. That it is very close quarters, as I understand it, in the confines of that premise. Very close quarters.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, you've been watching live coverage here from Bellevue Hospital, where Commissioner Bill Bratton and also Mayor Bill de Blasio updating us on the officers, the 3 officers that were shot earlier this afternoon during a shootout with a suspect, a sexual assault suspect from California. Good news here is that all officers in stable condition. An NYPD officer identified as Officer Munez was actually shot below the actually shot with a bulletproof vest on, and we saw a picture of that actual vest. They had it there at the news conference, and if it wasn't for that vest, Officer Munez may not be alive right now. It certainly saved his life. So once again, this shootout in the West Village around 1 o'clock this afternoon, 3 officers shot. The suspect is dead. A weapon has been recovered, and they do believe all officers were shot by the suspect. Stay with CBS 2 and CBSNewYork.com for continuing coverage of the police shootout. Plus, you can also find a link on our website to John Walsh's new show, The Hunt, that profiled the suspect that was shot dead today, Charles Mosdier.